to be here on your show.
Yeah, yeah. And we haven't met in person. You're one of the first people to reach out to me, and I feel like we kind of know each other for many years, but we haven't met each other in person. But so I'm looking forward to the opportunity one day.
Yeah, it's crazy that you say that, because I mean that's how it is nowadays, right? Because you get to see people online all the time, you get to hear them, you get to see their videos and just learn more about them. And so whenever you meet that person, it's like, man, I feel like I've known you for 2, 3, 5 years, and we're
Yeah.
barely getting the opportunity to meet in person. So I know that feeling, all too well.
Yeah, it's like before you would meet the person and then you would add them on Facebook and Instagram. Now I feel like it's the opposite. You're meeting
It
them
is.
virtually and then you're getting to meet them in person. And so, like
It's
I was just
crazy.
sharing with you before this, you were the first multifamily podcast video I ever seen, and it was after with Eric Barvin, and I was just so excited. Like I was so new to this, and I dissected your interview and everything. I wrote down all these notes, and I was like, man, I gotta get going. And so thank you for putting out that content. There are people that watch, and I was one of them, and you inspired to me to in a way to do this as myself. So I'm very thankful.
Hey, it's my pleasure, and thank you for the kind words. It's fun, doing these interviews and talking to people and just getting the opportunity to learn from them, but also just understanding what it is that they're doing and what works in their market and what works in their specific niche. So it's a very very much fun for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So for this back to school class, we're going to talk about how to network in multifamily, but really just how to network in this era, in this 2020, especially during COVID, and how we see ourselves getting out of it. And so you're going to be the professor for today, if that's all right with you.
That's perfectly fine with me.
Awesome. And so just before we get into the topic, can you just give a couple of minutes about who you are, how you have done your journey thus far in multifamily, and quote unquote your overnight success?
Yeah, no, definitely. So I got started with single family. I was in a W-2 job, and I was there for a good while, and after a long time you kind of get burnt out a little bit, and I was at that point, and so I was looking for ways to supplement my income, and real estate kept being the one thing that kept popping up for me. Passive income, and it's the one thing that seems doable for everybody, right? It seems like it's something that you can learn easily. It's not hard, and just put together some savings, and you can buy some real estate. I got started with single family. Luckily for me, one resident, he ended up leaving. He was a good resident, but he ended up leaving. And I had a little vacancy there, and I had a vacancy for about a month and a half or so. But during that time, I realized that, hey, you know what? I was the one paying for everything. I was the one paying for the expenses, the utilities, you name it, right? And so then I had my savings, but then that quickly, dwindled down. And then I was like, man, you know what? This kind of sucks, man. I thought this was supposed to be really good, and it is, right? But you have to scale it at such a big high point. At that point, I also realized that maybe single family wasn't the avenue for me. Maybe it's going larger, going bigger, right? Bigger number of doors, and that was multifamily. All right, so I started to educate myself on the multifamily side, and then shortly after that, I would say about 6 months or so after that, I was able to close on my very first 32 unit multifamily deal, and so that was the start of the multifamily side, and it's been nothing but multifamily since then.
Yeah. And so how many, what are you now in units? And so you started single family.
For sure. Yeah. I started single family, then the 32 unit, we sold that 32 unit. And then, currently, we have about 700 units under management. And then, we have, I'm invested also a limited partner, passive
Yeah.
investor. I would say about 1,200 units. And then there's also some JV deals that I've done that I'm a part of currently right now. So I don't know, all in all, 2,300, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, 700 units under management currently.
Yeah. So if we go back to when your first multifamily deal, you're like, okay, this is big jump for me. You getting your first unit. How were you networking back then, and what would you have done differently to where you are now?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Back then, I was focused on single family, right? Whenever I had my single family home, and one thing that I noticed in a single family, I mean, it's pretty obvious, right? Because the single family, events is, that's all people talk about though, right? It's just single family. They don't really talk about anything else other than single family, right? So my point in saying that is, I wanted to jump into multifamily. I had to switch and I had to go away from those type of events and networking events that I was at, and go to the ones that I wanted to be a part of, which is multifamily, right? So I knew that, being in those multifamily events, it's you're around people that are entrepreneurs, you're around people that are business owners, you're around people that are doing some big things at a big high level, and so it just for me it was simply as just switching the networking that I was doing, right, and getting involved into bigger groups, high level people.
And so, were you being strategic about it? Were you going to certain events? Were you like, what was your process? Like, you meet someone, how did you follow up with them? Just being practical, how did you do it?
Yeah, at the very beginning it was tough, right? Because you don't have a track record, you don't have a name for yourself, and so even if you reach out to people, for me it was a little tough. I reached out to people, and some people didn't bother to even reply. Other people did, but then it just kind of finished there. What I realized is that I needed to be able to provide some value to them, right? And if you're able to provide value in one way or another, then people are more willing to help, right? And so it was just a matter of seeing what it is that you're looking for, how can I help you, and then like that you're able to get more involved, right? The other way that I was able to build, a pretty good network, at the very beginning on the multifamily side of things, it was when I was doing direct mail. So I started off with direct mail. That was how I acquired my 32 unit. And direct mail was actually the way I was able to build some good relationships with owners, in the space, owners that are still, good friends of mine. They would tell me, hey, look, here's the letter. I still have the letter right here. Little yellow letter, right? But it's so there's a couple of different ways, right? But I think at the very beginning for most people, it's going to be a little tough. Just find the way that you can add value, as much as possible, and then you'll be surprised at how open that people can be.
Yeah, and I always hear people say add value, and sometimes when I was starting off, I'm like, what in the world does that mean? If someone is starting to transition from single family to their first deal, how can they add value? Like, how are they going to add value to a property manager, a lender, or a potential person to sell their story so that you can sell them their deal?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you have to find out what your skill set is, right? If you're good with finances, right? You have an analytical background or mindset, then you can easily transfer that into multifamily, right? You can reach out to an owner and then say, hey, look, I just want to learn from you. If you'd like, it would be my honor to underwrite some deals for you, right? And you tell me what kind of deals you want. I'll do all the underwriting for you, and then you don't have to waste your time because it's time consuming, right? I mean, we do that all the time, but it's very time consuming. So that's one easy way. If you have a management background, and this owner has a smaller property, hey, I'll help you manage your property, whatever it is that you need. I'll take care of some of these duties. No worries. I mean, just do whatever it is. I mean, take out the trash, if that's what it is, right? If that's what it takes. And just find ways that you can add that value. I mean, there's a million different ways. Everybody has a certain skill set, and everybody can bring some kind of value. Just find what it is, and don't undervalue your skill set either. I mean, as I mentioned, there's everybody has a certain skill set and is worthy of something everywhere.
Yeah. So when you were starting off, what you were bringing into people in your network?
So, people, how was I adding value? Was that the question?
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty much the way I try to, just, connecting with them, finding out what it is that I could do for them. Most of the people that were already in a higher level, they have a lot of those positions already covered. Right. And so you have to find out what it is that you can do. I mean, small little things, whatever. Right. And so, I mean, that's pretty much what I did, right? Just it was different little things for these guys. It wasn't a certain thing every time for the guys,
Yeah, yeah. And so, how has your strategy in networking evolved? 10 years later, 15 years later, and now in 2020. Are
Yeah.
you still
So
doing some of the same strategies, or is it more technologically based? Um,
yeah, I mean, obviously, right now with COVID-19, a lot of it has shifted to online, to virtual. So you go into webinars, different events, meetups. Everything's online now, right? That's how the majority of those are now. You're able to chat and communicate with the guys, even if you're online. My favorite way still is in person.
yeah.
Online can only go so far, and I think it's you're able to expand and meet other people that you wouldn't have met otherwise. But any opportunity that I have, I still try to meet people in person, and that's sending the people a message, personal message, and say, hey, can we chat after the meeting or after the webinar, and exchange information, and meet in person, set up a meeting and coffee or whatever, right?
Hmm.
That's still going to be the best way. No matter what, to me, it's still going to be the best way.
Could you share a story of maybe someone how they networked with you, or something where you networked with someone else, and it evolved to something that you never imagined could possibly happen?
Um, Share a story. I mean, yeah. I mean, I could say that just in the networking, we were introduced to current partners. So I mean that's a big thing, right? So just in networking, just getting to know each other a little bit more, and then a certain person actually saying, hey, look, you should meet so and so, right? And then you meet, and then you're working together on deals. So my biggest thing is always telling people what it is that you're doing and what it is that you're looking for, um, and like that people can know. But at the same time, as we mentioned earlier, finding ways that you can help them, right? Um,
Right.
and so it always seems to happen to where you kind of match, right? If you're not that person, then they'll introduce somebody else, and I do it all the time too, right? I meet somebody and there's like, hey, you should meet this person. I think you guys will be able to talk shop and add value to one another in many ways. um but if you don't tell me what it is that you're looking for, then I can't help you, right? So yeah, that's very important.
Yeah, and I think, human psychology is always, what can the other person do for me? And some of the best networking, when it's happened, I feel it's that person is really selfless and saying, I'm not asking for anything in return. And then you see how things evolved. How can someone starting out, because, when you get on these message boards, Facebook groups, LinkedIn, it's almost like a sell. Oh, people are always wanting something in return. So how can you reverse that and really give to someone without anything in return?
I mean, I think there's a few different ways. I mean, if you have as I mentioned, a skill set, right? Or if you have a report, some type of report that's very informative, very educational, an ebook or something. That, hey, look, this is a free ebook that you can share with your audience, with people that follow you, whatever, right? I think it's very informative. If you're analytical, if you have a spreadsheet, you can say, hey, look, I just put this together. It's free to you. I want to share it with you. Maybe give it a try, or have one of your analysts give it a try. And it may be very, very helpful to those guys, right? So I think is a matter of putting something out there, without asking for something in return, and say, hey, look, hopefully this you find it useful, and that's it. Pretty much is that. And once they respond, then you can take it from there, right? But I think you being proactive and providing that info, or that one product or service at the very beginning up front, then that goes a long way.
Yeah, yeah. If you were like looking back and let's say you were me, what would you do in my situation? Not necessarily someone who's in multifamily, someone who's, starting out in their career, out of college, what would you try to do in terms of networking, and so that you can build a foundational pool of people that could, launch your career and you can help them as well?
Yeah, at the very beginning, I would say is, you know try to, build a name for yourself. Try to market yourself in a good way, right? I think that's big. I think, at the very beginning, you're not going to have the experience, right? But if you're around other guys that have the experience, you ask for one of the ways that you can add value. That could be just simply recording, right? You're going on property tours. I've seen a couple guys do that, right? You're going on property tours and you're just simply recording, right? You're the recorder. You're the guy behind the camera, whatever, right? Or in front of the camera. No, rather behind the camera. And you're doing the recording, right? The property tour, you're doing due diligence, whatever, right? So you're adding value to that person, right? And you're surrounding yourself with that person. And then you can flip it around and it's two of you, and then you can have him talk and you can be talking. And so people are raising your status, so to speak, right? With that one guy, right? Everybody knows who this one guy is, right? It could be Billy Bob. Everybody knows that Billy Bob is doing really good in the space. He's very experienced, has a strong track record, and you're affiliated with him in some way, shape, or form, right? So it elevates your status, right? So I think that's a good way. You're providing value, but then you're also elevating your status, right? So that's just one simple way, but everything you put out there on social media is an extension of who you are, right? So that's your marketing, right? That's your extended brand. And so, try to leave, good paper trails, right? If you are young, I don't know how young you are, but if you're really young, a lot of, teenagers, a lot of guys in their 20s, like to have fun and like to do things, and nothing wrong with that, right? But if that's all you have in social media, then that's what people have to base off of you, right? So you have to kind of clean it up and try to make it a little bit more professional. Try to get more involved in real estate and show people who you can be, right? And so I think all that is very important.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that. I think, when I go through my social media, I think in the beginning, because I was so excited to, finally this next chapter of my life, like just go all multifamily. And I felt like maybe that's how people were defining me. And it's like people forget that there's other parts of yourself that actually might connect with you in a better way than multifamily. And so, sharing more about like other parts of me. So within social media, how do you go about, sharing who you are, Juan Vargas, in social media? So they're like, he's not just multifamily. There's other parts of him that they connect with as well.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I think it's important to share your personal story, right? Share who you are, share pictures and photos and videos, about your family, your dog, your home, what you like to do, your hobbies, because there's people that will say, people do business with businesses, and there's other people that say that people don't do business with businesses, they do business with people, right? Mm-hmm. And so whenever you think of Tesla, you think of Elon Musk, right? Yes, Tesla is its own brand, but Elon Musk is his own personal brand as well, right? If I invest in Tesla stock, for example, not investing in Tesla, I'm investing in Elon Musk, right? And that's the way I see it, right? I think it's very important that you show who you are and you show what you like, and you can't just do business, you can't just do multifamily, right? Show that you like working out, show that you like smoking a brisket. I mean, that's one thing that I've started to like a lot here lately, right? Show those kind of things, right? Because that's part of life, right? Yeah. It's not all multifamily. You're not going to be, rehabbing apartments all day long, every single day, for the rest of your life, right? That's not reality, right? So I think it's very important to have that certain balance, right? Here's what I'm doing on the business side, but here's me on a bicycle doing an MS3, 150, right? Here's me on a bicycle or just swimming or whatever, right? Doing a triathlon, right? So there's a lot of things that you could be doing that people connect with, and you'll also realize that you'll find an even bigger connection with people, right? Because it's like, hey man, I just did an MS 150, man. Let's connect, and then from that point, it goes into multifamily, but later on, right? But you connected on a more personal level, and then you talked about business, at 2 or 3 meetings later, right? So it just evolved to that point, right? So that's how you're able to, I guess, build a more authentic relationship, and I think it works. I think it's just be who you are.
Yeah. Let me ask you: did you do an MS 150?
Yeah.
Oh, so did I.
see, there you go.
There you go.
So it works, So yeah, I think it's important that you share your stories, and share, who you are, right? I mean, everybody has their own comfort level on how far they want to go into and what they want to share. But I think, if you can go pretty deep into your personal life, then I think that's even better, right?
Yeah, because I mean, when I was at PwC, when we did management consulting, we would often pitch to these companies why they should pick us for the project. And everyone would come in with the 50-page pitch deck, and everyone looked the exact same. And the company, towards the end, they decided to shift the model and say, we're going to come in with no paper. We're going to come in and like present and almost put a show on, like acting it out, what we were actually going to do, how we're going to interact with them. And they started to see that the percentage of wins started to go up. And so I feel when you buy from someone is you're almost buying off emotion, because you're going to remember that when you go home. I'm not going to necessarily, they didn't necessarily remember the ROI that we were going to, cost reduction percentage we're going to save them every single year. They remembered the emotion, how the person made them feel. And so it's trying to share that vulnerability. It's difficult to share vulnerability.
It is difficult. And, I always thought myself as a shy person. I think, there's a ton of people out there that can relate, and, you have that inner, self where it's telling you, hey, you're an introvert, right? Don't get out there. What are people going to say about you? Or, what if you do this wrong, do that wrong? I mean, nobody really sees it like that, The more and more that I got out there and started talking to people and just being who I am, it became even easier. And I started to connect with other people that are just like me. And you realize that it's not that bad. It's actually fun,
Yeah.
Most people are out there to push on you, right? And not in a bad way. They'll push you up, right? They're like, oh yeah, this is good, man, congratulations, or and you do the same thing for them. So I think it's a lot of positivity out there, right? So I would say, again, don't be afraid to share your real personal stories.
When you were starting off in multifamily, did you feel like, oh, they're judging me? Who is this guy? He just comes from single family. And how did you overcome that, if you did have that feeling?
Yeah, I mean, I would, I would be lying to you if I didn't. If I said I didn't, it's hard, right? Because whenever you get into something new, you feel as if everybody is a pro, right? Everybody's been doing this for 25 years, and you're the new guy, and you don't know what the hell you're doing, and everybody's professional, and you never made a mistake, right? That's the way you feel, right? But it's just as I mentioned, getting out there, networking with people, just seeing what people are also posting, like on social media. Everybody is like you, right? People are trying to learn, and a lot of people are in your same position, right? And that's why it's always very, very important to network, right? Because you're going to meet people from all different stages of their careers, right? That you can really connect with, and see eye to eye with, because they're in your same steps, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it was just a matter of getting out there and connecting with other people, and saying, hey, look, you're doing the same thing, you're in the same position that I am. Let's talk, right? Let's try to help each other, right? What do you need help with? And then it's like, okay, well, what do you like doing, right? And then maybe I could do this and you could do that, whatever, right? And that's how you're able to build a good relationship and possibly even partnerships, right? But yeah, you'll realize that there's a ton of people out there that are always going to be new. That's never going to change, right? Because there's we keep doing this, these shows, right? So it's always going to be attracting newer people and even people that are already in the business. They like to listen to shows, and listen to interviews that with other guys that are doing some good stuff out there, right? Just to see what they're doing, right? So I think it's just a matter of getting out there and connecting with other people, networking, and getting out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I think last year I put on my 2019 goals was start a podcast. I just wanted to start. I didn't even know if people were going to listen. And then I'm like, okay, I have to get over the vulnerability of putting my face on the camera. Then I get over that vulnerability, insecurity. Then I'm like, okay, how am I going to go into an industry when I'm going to talk to people who they have 20 years experience? I'm like, okay, I have to get over that. And so it's a constant, just evolving, but it's getting better and better. And I'm truthful. I don't have 20 years experience, but I love to learn from people who do,
Mhm.
and ask questions from a different perspective. And so that's what this is. It's just the opportunity that I get to learn from you is what brings me the most joy in sharing that with others.
Exactly. I understand that feeling exactly, 100%. I mean, it just, connecting with people, here, virtually, and learning from them and being able to share their story. And then not only that, but you get to build an even bigger connection with that one person, right? Specifically talking about the podcast, right?
Mhm.
But also, if you're doing webinars, I mean, people are seeing you, and you're being vulnerable again, right? And you have to be able to speak, and then, you're wondering if people are going to, listen to every single word you're saying, and making sure that you're not stumbling, with your words or whatever. Everybody stumbles, everybody's
Yeah.
going to stutter in one way or one time or another. Everybody's going to have their their down moment or whatever, right? But it's just the way it is, right? And you have to get over that. And the sooner that you're able to tell yourself and feel comfortable about getting over that, um, then the sooner you'll be on your way, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, just sharing how you have started, and you've progressed and evolved. When you think about 2020 and for the next 10 years, how do you perceive yourself of what's going to help you to get to the next level in terms of how you network? Are you going to stick to the same stuff, or is there new things you're thinking about that you want to implement?
Yeah. So for networking, I want to continue to do what I'm doing, right? As I mentioned earlier, in-person meetings are always the best, right? Because people not only see you, you could shake hands, maybe not right now during this period, but
Hmm.
that's still, like, that's not gonna go away. Maybe it'll go away temporarily, but I feel like I'm old school. I gotta have that shaking hands. I just did that today. I went on a property tour. I saw the broker, shake hands, and he's
Yeah.
old school too. It was like, man, a big, strong,
Right.
you're shaking hands, and that's just the way it's gonna be, right? But I think that's very important. And also, shifting to more of the family office, for equity side, right?
Hmm.
And so what I mean by that is, getting in front of the guys, in a more institutional level, right? In say, for example, Mexico, right? And getting out there, and so I want to be able to meet those guys, fly, out of the country, get to those kind of events, meet those guys, that are, super successful, and then just get in front of them, and network. And that's, putting yourself out there again, right? That's feeling that vulnerability, right? Again,
Hmm.
right? And so that's not going to go away, right? You'll feel comfortable for a while, and then once you feel comfortable, then it's time for you to get to that next level, right? You have
Hmm.
to keep constantly being outside your comfort zone. And so, yeah, you have to get in front of people. That's just the way it is. Networking online is awesome. Do it while you can, but once you have the opportunity, try to make those meetings and those appointments. And I mean, even if it's 6 feet apart, it's fine, but get out there.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a guy named David Goggins. I'm sure you've heard of him.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. So I've loved. He's kind of inspired me to do endurance races and all that.
for
But he
sure.
goes,
Awesome.
as soon as you get comfortable and complacent, that's when it's over.
It's over.
It's
Yeah.
over. And
And
so, no, what I was going to say is, like, it took so much vulnerability for, and probably no one cares, but for me, it was such a vulnerability to do this live show. Like, there's nobody watching there, like, nobody cares. But for me, it was a big step. But now I'm getting into the groove of it. So it's like, what is going to be that next level?
yeah,
And
well, the next level is going to be live events. I mean, that's the next level, right? When you're getting in front of 20 people, and then you take it from to another level still, right? 40, 50 people, right? And then another level still, 100, 200 people, right?
mhm,
400 people, whatever, right? And so that's where, that's one of the biggest fears for most people out there, right? Is just, public speaking, right? You hear it all the time. That's,
yeah,
some of the biggest fears. But that, man, you're really getting out there if you're doing that, right? Because not only are you in front of hundreds of people, but you also have cameras that are recording, and everybody has, there's like, there's 500 people there. There's 1,000 eyes on you, right?
yeah.
So it's just crazy, but That's what it takes. So for you, you're doing this. I mean, you're gonna have to have a live show in person in front of people. I mean, that's just gonna way the way it's gonna be.
One day, one day. No, but I still got a lot to learn from you before I do that. But no, I think, just from a foundational level, I think it was very helpful how you kind of started off, and how, I think the way that maybe the theme of this episode was the way you evolved and network was just keep being vulnerable, and you got to that next level, and it allowed you to try new things, meet new people that you probably would have never met.
Yeah. I will say that, real quick, growing up, I thought I was a shy kid, and I think a lot of it has to do with, how you grew up, right? How you were raised, your parenting and all that kind of things. So for me, I was just a shy kid, right? I thought I was shy. As I became an adult, well, I would say I forced it, right? Because mentally I was shy, but then once I forced it, I realized, hey, you know what? I'm really not that shy. I can go out there and talk to people, and it's still natural for me, and it's fun for me. Doing this podcast, it's exciting,
Yeah.
And whenever I get excited, I speak fast. So if I'm speaking fast, but
I love it.
Yeah. So just to let you know, right? So, and it's something that, hey, if I wouldn't have put myself out there, then I wouldn't have known, right? And so again, we said it many times. Make sure you get yourself out there. You never know who you're going to meet. Could be the next partner. It could be the next seller that that you buy from, or whatever, right? There's a lot of different things that you can learn from people, and you won't learn it if you don't talk to them.
Yeah, well, I mean, you don't come off as shy, if you want me to tell you. You come off a guy who demands respect, who's sharp, smart. So that's the way I
appreciate it. Yeah, it wasn't like overnight. I will tell you that, but it's just one of those things that, as I mentioned, just do it over and over and over again, and you'll find your groove after a while.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I think that's a great way to just end this in a sense of your journey, how you evolved and networked, and how you've grown to where you are now. If you're looking back of your journey, and I always ask everyone this at the end of the interview, what are you most proud of?
I'm most proud of taking action, and I think it's very simple, but it's also very difficult at the same time, if that makes sense. It's simple because just take action, right? But it's difficult because people have that fear, right? And it's like, when it comes to taking action, what does it usually involve? It usually involves money, right? In one way, shape, or form, right? It's going to involve money. It's going to involve signing on the dotted line. So all that is fear of losing your money, fear of are you doing the right thing, and you buying the right deal, or are you meeting the right person, whatever, right? There's all kinds of things, but if you don't take action, then you won't ever find out, right? And so it's always better to find out, put yourself out there, take action, and I think more times than not, it's going to be a good thing that is going to work out in your favor, right? But if you don't try at all, then who would have known?
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things. So I would say for sure it's taking action. I'm super excited to have done what I did. Which is not much, but I was able to take action, and yes, it is still scary, but you have to kind of overcome that, right? There's no reward without risk. So that's the other thing, right?
Yeah, no, I think we can sometimes get in the rut or the mindset of comparing ourselves to the guys who own 10,000, 20,000 units. But if you look at yourself, I think you're far ahead than a lot of people who just think about one day of buying real estate. And so it's the worst thing to do is compare yourself to somebody. But I look at you way ahead of so many people.
I appreciate that. No, and I would say, it's very important that you don't compare your book with somebody else's book, and everybody has their own personal book, right? You're in a certain chapter, right? So for me, for example, I could be on chapter 3 or 4, right? And then somebody else, they've been doing this for 20 years. They have $3 billion dollars worth of assets,
right?
30,000 units, whatever, right? But they're on chapter 20, right? And so you can't compare your chapter 3 with their chapter 20. I mean, it's not a fair comparison, right?
Right.
They've already
Right.
gone through all the other chapters, right? And so, people that are starting out, I mean, you're barely opening the book, maybe, right? So
Yeah.
you can't go to the back of the book and say, it's not fair. How the hell is this guy there and I'm over here? It's not fair for me. Or what am I doing wrong? You're not doing anything wrong. Keep pushing, take action, and then open the book, turn the page. And that's just as simple as that, right? Take action, turn the next page.
Right.
And then before you know it, you'll be on chapter 20, right? That's just as simple as that.
Yeah. And I hate to go back to David Goggins again, but he has his quote where he goes, "We're all running our own race."
Exactly.
As soon as you realize we're all running our own race, it just frees you the mindset of just trying to compare yourself and beat someone else. It's just today at your own speed, and you'll see how much you've progressed.
It's a trap to compare yourself with somebody else, and I think most of us do it. I would say selfishly, people do it. I do it. It's not good, but it's also very important that you understand. Hey, they've done this for a long time. You respect that, and it's not good for you to compare yourself with people that are getting started either, right? Because just like you've been able to get to chapter 3, you can fall back and then now you're starting all over, right? So it's not good to look down on people, and it's good to I would say admire people and respect people, but it's never good to look down on people, right? Always have that hand downward and raise people up.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Just how I think you've been open with your time and allowed me to interview you. I hope you do the same for someone else who's maybe starting their multifamily journey 10 years from now. So it does, trust me, paying it forward, I'm learning from it because I would love to do it for someone else as well.
That's the way it is. You have to pay it forward. One arm up, one arm down, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think this is a great way to end it, Juan. And as you shared a little bit about yourself, where can people learn more about you? What kind of multifamily you invest? Maybe one day they want to passively invest you in the future.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. We acquire BNC multifamily throughout Texas and in the major primary markets, and also in Phoenix. We're also looking at some Class A stuff, and then so I'll be happy to jump on a call or exchange information with anybody. And then so my email is juan@genwealthcapital.com, juan@genwealthcapital.com. And as I mentioned, I'll be happy to talk shop with anybody out there.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it. It seems like the Wi-Fi is getting a little choppy. Perfect timing. So yeah, if anyone's genwealthcapital.com, Juan will be happy to answer any questions. And I thank you. I hope people found value in this. People maybe starting out in their business career or starting out how to invest in multifamily. You gave a great perspective. I was talking to some investors who were trying to buy their first multifamily deal, just like 10 units. And so the fact that you did it, I hope it inspires them that they can do it as well.
Oh yeah, anybody can do it. And don't let the lack of money, stop you either. There's a lot of creative ways that you can get into deals. As I mentioned, it is about adding value to guys, to other guys, right? Add value, and you can get into deals. That's the biggest thing.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate your time, Juan, and hopefully we'll talk soon.
Hey, thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity, Zach.